Good morning, this is Destiny checking in with today's Daily Diamond. Hey family, as always, I would like to say welcome to any new subscribers, anybody that is new to the podcast, and I would like to say hello again to anyone who has been with me since the jump. So, today's topic, I don't even really know what I want to talk about today. So in the midst of me thinking about what I want to cover, let me of course give my shout out to my three beautiful sponsors, the three young ladies who have supported me since the jump. First up, we've got Kisses by Shelly. Shelly offers that custom lip gloss. Shelly also has a YouTube channel that's out. I will be sure to update my promo page so that information is there for you. Up next, we've got Lisha. Lisha is our up-and-coming hairstylist and our braider. Make sure you check her out, especially if you're looking for box braids or some of those feed-ins. And last but not least, we've got Royal Crown Extensions, who's been with me for the long haul. Make sure you check Sade out. She has some bundle deals now that include a closure. That's what. Make sure you check her out. What do I want to talk about today? So, let's talk about this concept or this idea of being overwhelmed, right? All right, so as a mother, overwhelmed should be my first, middle, and last name, like next to the dictionary definition of mother. The word overwhelmed should be placed there, right? But it does not matter if you're a mother or not. Quite often, all of us get in a place in which we feel overwhelmed. So I am here today to tell you, like, if you are in a place where you are feeling overwhelmed, take some time to prioritize, take some time to pack some patience so that you can begin to think about and prioritize those things that are important to you, what must be done, what must happen, and then those things that are not necessarily that important, or those things that are not necessarily paramount to your everyday deal, make those things that you can do later or that you don't have to do at all. This sense of being overwhelmed, I think it happens when we feel like there's way too much on our plate and we're not in control of a lot of the things that have landed themselves on our plate. And so when we're focusing on us today and when we're thinking about ourselves today, let's think about prioritizing our lives and putting ourselves in a predicament in which we can get rid of some of the things that overwhelm us. So I'm going to give you an example. So I say all the time, I have two toddlers, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. My son starts school actually tomorrow. In Michigan, they start after Labor Day. Preschool starts even later, right? And so this concept of being overwhelmed is like my morning ministry, because I've got two people who here soon will be going in two different directions, and me being the third person is the last person to get themselves to work. And then once I get to work, of course, I have to deal with 150 extra smiling faces. And so when we're talking about a concept of overwhelmed, like, that's all I know. However, every time the school year begins again, every time the school year starts over, I always want to put myself in a predicament in which I'm not overwhelmed. And so in order to try to avoid being as overwhelmed as much as possible this year, like, I'm getting up earlier, adding an extra 20 or 30 minutes to my morning time. Yes, it makes me a little more tired. Yes, it's frustrating. However, it exacerbates, or it gets rid of this feeling of being overwhelmed all the time. I'm able to get my kids dropped off, and I'm able to have a few moments to myself before school starts. And so this last 30 or 40 minutes that I have in the car alone, or I have on my ride alone, like, that's important to me. That's important for my personal peace, and that's important for me to decompress so that I don't feel so overwhelmed. And so what I'm saying is, maybe when we're dealing with some things, it might mean that we need to add a little bit more time. I know that there's not enough time in the day. Nobody can tell me anymore. Like, I know that that's something that we all suffer with, because I suffer with it. It's not enough time in the day to do all that we have to do. But if I could add an extra 30 minutes, or by adding an extra 30 minutes to my morning, when we talk about this concept of being overwhelmed, and I apologize for the slight pause and the slight change in subject. I had something I had to do. But when we talk about this concept or this idea of being overwhelmed, I do think that time is an important factor. And in addition to time, I think it's also important to, like I was saying when I first started, it's important to prioritize. It's some things that I know like I cannot do. As this brand new school year for me started, like I decided that I was not going to be as emotionally available for my students, because me being as emotionally available and allowing them to constantly pour into me and vice versa put me in a place like I got home from work and I was emotionally drained. And that's not fair to my family. That's not fair to my children. And so that is something, to consider. Like, even at your job and wherever you are, do you want to, when you walk into your place of work, do you want to be emotionally available for people to pour into or people to take from, during your work day? And if not, or if you do, it's something to consider. Like, does me being emotionally present for everyone and everybody, does it put me in a place in which I find myself being overwhelmed, or I find myself being without, I find myself being beat down, being tired, being broken? Like, none of that stuff is necessary. You have a right to protect yourself. You have a right to protect your peace. You have a right to protect yourself as a parent, as a wife, as a husband, as a father, as a child, as a student. Like, you have a right to do whatever those things are. And so it's important when you are overwhelmed that you do your best to kind of get a handle on those things so that you can still be okay with you at the end of the day. I'm learning to turn my phone off sometimes, or put my phone on do not disturb, or not answer phone calls past a certain time, or not answer emails past a certain time. Like, I am going to do things when they are correct and comfortable for me and for me only, and I'm going to meet the deadlines that are put upon me. But if I don't want to do something and it's not within my time or space or my mental space to do it and or handle it, like, I'm not doing it anymore, because I'm tired of being in a place at 30 years old where I'm dead tired and I'm overwhelmed and I'm overworked. Like, that's just not fair. That's just not who I want to be. That's not the type of woman that I want to be. That's not the type of mother or the type of wife that I want to be. And so I'm doing my best to become more present in the lives of my family and the lives of my children, because I don't want to continue to be overwhelmed. And if you're a mom out there, like, it is okay if you cry sometimes. Like, it is okay if you take a break sometimes. It is okay if you drop your kids off for 2 hours for you to go to the nail shop. Like, all of that is okay, because in the big scheme of things, like, you have to be okay as their mom. And I know as a mother, like, I've never been so overwhelmed and underpaid in my life. Like, and so, I've learned to, like, make space for myself. Sometimes y'all just gonna have to cry. Sometimes y'all just gonna have to wait a second. Sometimes I need 20 minutes or I need 2 hours. Sometimes I need a half a day. Sometimes I need a whole day or a whole weekend. Like, it is okay to request some time and request some space for yourself so that you could be a better version of yourself. I had, like, a really, really restful weekend, and I hope all of you did too. And any time that I'm in a place of rest, and a time that I'm not overwhelmed and I don't have a lot to do, that's the time that I become reflective. If you're somebody like me, or you need to become reflective, like, when you find yourself without something to do and you're so-called bored, become reflective. Look at your life and see what you can change, what you can shift, what you can move, so that you don't have to be so overwhelmed, so that you don't have to be so emotionally broken or so emotionally empty. It's cool to be proud of yourself. It's cool to do for self so that you'll be okay. So today, when you're focusing on you and you're thinking about you, understand that sometimes being overwhelmed is a part of the life that we live, and it's a part of living this life and being in this life and being an adult, and a young person. But we don't always have to be overwhelmed. We can make space and make some changes and prioritize, so the things that are important to us become those things that are on the top of our list, and they become more important than those things that are minuscule or minute. Okay, so today, focus on you. Get that list together and prioritize so that you're not so overwhelmed. But this is Destiny signing out with today's Daily Diamond. I'll see you guys tomorrow.